Cast is intended for adult audiences. If you are not an adult, please do not let your parents know you're listening to this, and don't repeat anything you hear on this show in front of them. Also, a reminder that even if you fight recklessly, please drink responsibly. Now that we have all that covered, let's start the show. Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to Picks and Pours, episode 59. Hopefully, I'm coming through loud and clear. First time using Restream here. I had to part ways with StreamYard. Used StreamYard for the last, I want to say 4 years or so. But I got my annual bill from them and they decided to double their prices. And it's not so much the cost of it that bothers me, it's the obscene increase. I realize the prices of everything have gone up, but I paid a certain amount for the service for however many years I was with them, and for them to jump it up so much, I just couldn't justify it. So I'm exploring other options right now, currently broadcasting from Restream, and I'm deciding if I want to move forward with this platform. So far, I like it. It seems pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use. Hopefully, I'm coming through loud and clear on YouTube. I'm going to have to repost to Facebook and everywhere else later. And hopefully I can download the audio after I'm done with this. I haven't looked into that yet. I haven't done a whole lot of research, but those of you that listen to a lot of podcasts out there, if you can recommend any other streaming platforms, I'm pretty simple. I don't need a whole lot. I need to be able to download the audio, put my branding, logo, and stuff up while the stream is live, and throw in my theme music and shit like that. All right, you guys don't want to hear about my drama with StreamYard. Nobody cares. Today is Thursday, April 24th. It'll be my half birthday tomorrow. So happy half birthday to me. A lot of stuff going on. Matt the Mechanic could not make it. He's got some family in town. So he didn't want to inconvenience them by telling them all to be quiet while he records a podcast in his living room. We're going to have to possibly get him some designated studio space. By the way, I don't know if I can see the comments on this new platform yet. So, if you're commenting and I don't see it, I'll try and respond to it later. But please do push some comments through so I can find out if I can see them on this Restream platform. So far, it looks pretty nice. All right. Where to start? I have so much to talk about. Obviously, we have UFC Kansas City coming up this weekend. I'm going to start with my weekend last weekend. So there was no UFC, but I went to a local fight promotion at the OCC Roadhouse and Museum, Harley Davidson Museum in Clearwater. This was Vigilant MMA, probably the most well-known amateur promotion in the area, possibly in the state. They always put on a great show. So it was at this Roadhouse bar in Clearwater, which is attached to a Harley Davidson dealership and museum. Really cool venue. So I was meant to be a judge. I've judged for Vigilant many times over the years. They always ask me back, so I guess I haven't messed up too bad. So I went up to the promoter, whose name is Brandon Lee. You may remember him. He's been on this podcast before. And As I walked up to him, he got off the phone and said, "Fuck, I just lost a commentator." So I tapped him right on the shoulder, very serendipitous, right? And I said, "Hey, I know a guy." And he called his producer over and said, "Hey, if this guy's a judge, can he also do the commentary?" And the producer said, "No, but if he can do commentary, find somebody else to be the judge. Let's get him on the microphone." And then the producer looked at me and said, "We go live in 7 minutes." To which I responded, "Great. Where's my microphone?" And the rest is history. Um, Jumped on the show. I didn't know what fights were coming up because when I'm going to a show to judge, I try not to look at the fight card. That way I can go in without any bias. If I knew I were going to be doing commentary, I would have done a little bit of research. I would have come to the weigh-ins and interviewed the fighters like I usually do when I do commentary, but had to go in cold and it went really well, I think. I got positive feedback from the producers. They asked me to come back again to their event in June at the same venue. I'm super excited about it. And I got to work alongside Lewis, who's been their play-by-play commentator for the past 5 years, and we had a really great chemistry going. So it was a lot of fun, and the fights were outstanding. I think at one point there were 5 finishes in a row, TKOs, submissions, and it was a mixed card. So there was boxing, there was full rules Muay Thai, and there was MMA. The card was phenomenal, top to bottom. It really was. And I'm not just saying that because I was doing the commentary or because I need to sell it or anything like that, because I don't. You know, this is my platform. I can be totally honest. I really enjoyed myself. It was a really great night of fights. There was some heavyweight boxing. There was some MMA. There was influencer fights on the prelims. It was a really fun night, really cool venue. I'll be there again next week for BKFC on Friday night. My buddy Ryan Reber is going to be in the co-main event there. Normally, I would have Ryan on the podcast before he fights, but because I have all this mix-up with the streaming platforms, I've decided to hold off on doing any guests for now until I decide on a new streaming platform and I kind of learn the ropes with it a little bit. I don't want to invite someone on the show and trying to be figuring things out on the fly, if you know what I mean. So won't be doing that. But in any case, I love doing the commentary. Obviously, you know, I've been doing MMA on the rocks for, gosh, almost 9 years now. I think 8 years, something like that. I think June or July will be 9 years. So, man, it's really flown. But, you know, obviously this is a really fun hobby for me. It's a passion. I love martial arts of all types. And I love talking about it. So, otherwise I wouldn't have been doing this for so many years. But I'm looking forward to doing more commentary in the future, and I'm definitely going to be more prepared for the card in June, even though I don't do much preparation here. This coming weekend, so today's Thursday, on Sunday, I will be going out to Daytona Beach to corner my teammate, Jack Birge, who's going to be fighting at Dynasty Fight League for the 170-pound amateur Muay Thai title. It's going to be a rematch for him against Devin Patterson. The first time they fought was a little over a year ago, and Jack lost a really close decision. And I'm expecting big things from him in this fight. He's improved so much since then. His game has developed, especially in his Muay Thai clinch, exponentially. So I'm looking forward to seeing him put on a show, do a little road trip across the state of Florida with some of the boys from the gym, and bring a belt back home with us. So Cheers, Jack. Looking forward to your fight. What else? What else? I'm sipping on I just grabbed the closest bottle to me, to be honest. I wish I had the forethought to plan out, you know, curated drinks that go along with the fights and everything like that. But if I had done that, these fights are in Kansas City. I have a whiskey from St. Louis right behind me, but I didn't think of it. So I'm drinking Old Bardstown, and this is one that my brother-in-law turned me on to. It comes out of the Willett Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. 101 proof, and it's just straightforward, classic bourbon whiskey. It's got kind of those like toasted cereal notes to it that I really enjoy, and I know a lot of you do as well. Can't go wrong. Great bottle. I'm really glad he turned me on to this one. And apparently they won Kentucky's Gold Medal Award. No clue what that means, but it sounds nice. If you guys are tuning in on YouTube, make sure you drop some comments just so I can see if I can see them, because if you've already done that, I haven't been able to see them. Like I said, if you're just tuning in, I'm using a new streaming platform because StreamYard doubled their prices on me. And I don't even care if I find a new platform and I end up paying the same amount. It's not about the amount of money to me. That's not what bothered me. What bothered me is that they made such a jump and they're still offering the same services. It's not like they added anything extra. I'm bitter, guys. I'm sorry. I'm bitter about it. Let's talk about some fights. That's why you guys are here. Not here to listen to me rant about streaming platforms. And I mean, maybe you're here to listen to me rant about whiskey, but we'll get into a little more of that later. All right. So Matt the Mechanic could not make it, as I said earlier, but he did give me his picks. I'm going to pull them up here. Oh, man. Apologies, guys. I'm like yawning over here. Normally I have Matt here. I can like mute my microphone or something, get a little yawn or a cough or a sneeze in. But flying solo, I got to do it like Chael Sonnen style this week. There we go. Just need a little whiskey to wake up. All right. Let's start at the bottom of the main card. And okay. Ikram Alaskarov and Andre Muniz. This is a good fight. Good middleweight fight. And I don't know why I don't have Sherdog open for this, because that's what I always do. And I decide, hey, I'm using a new streaming platform. Why don't I try a new website for showing the fights as well? So Alaskarov, 15-2, Muniz 24-6. Let's take a look at the odds. I would think Muniz. I would have thought Muniz was a favorite, but Alaskarov minus 485. Why are they sleeping on my man Andre Muniz here? So Muniz coming off a split decision win against Jun Young Park in his last fight, and then back-to-back losses, Brendan Allen and Paul Craig. Okay. Both, really high-level competition there. Let's see what Alaskarov has been up to lately and why this guy is such a big favorite. He's from Dagestan. So Alaskarov is coming off a knockout loss to Robert Whittaker in June of last year. So he's coming off of almost a year layoff. But, man. All right. So Matt the Mechanic picked Alaskarov here, but personally, I like this underdog money on Andre Muniz, plus 370, according to DraftKings. And Muniz is tough, man. Alaskarov, I know, he got knocked out by Robert Whittaker. But before that, hasn't really fought the same level of competition as Muniz. Muniz much more experienced as well. And his only losses in the UFC are to Brendan Allen, who's a top contender, and Paul Craig, who's been a contender for a long time. However, okay, here's the kicker. Hasn't fought since December 2023. That is a long layoff. All right, so in any case, if you were curious, Matt the Mechanic is picking Ikram Alaskarov. So now we got Randy Rude Boy Brown and Nicholas Dalby. Randy Brown, pretty sizable favorite here, minus 265. Dalby, who is just dog tough, coming in at plus 215. Matt the Mechanic is going with the underdog money here and has picked Dalby. Gosh, I can't decide. I like both of these guys, and that becomes the problem, and that's why I'm not the one who makes the picks. So Dalby is coming off the split decision loss to Rinat Fakhretdinov. Before that, though, he had that impressive knockout over Gabriel Bonfim and played spoiler in that fight. And Randy Brown's coming off a split decision loss to Brian Battle. So I think the line should be a lot closer than it is on this one. I'm not sure why the odds are so spread. And yeah, I don't blame Matt for taking the underdog Dalby here. It's not a bad bet at all. So there we have it. Okay, Michel Pereira, always exciting, especially now that he's moved to middleweight. Is getting in there with Busipian Magomedov. And take a look at the odds real quick. Michel Pereira, slight favorite, minus 142. Magomedov, plus 120. Michel Pereira coming off of a TKO loss in October to Fluffy Hernandez. Nothing to be ashamed of there. And it was in the fifth round, a 5-round fight. So, I'm glad he's able to push the cardio now that he's bumped up to middleweight here. And Magomedov, 27-6, coming off of back-to-back wins against Bruno Ferreira and Warley Alves. He does have a loss. He does have losses to Kyle Bahalio and Sean Strickland. Both highly ranked contenders. Bahalio could possibly be fighting for an interim title coming up soon here. All right, so Matt the Mechanic going with the favorite Pereira here, if you're keeping track. Giga Chikadze and David Onama. This is a really fun fight. I'm going to give you guys a second to think about who you think is the favorite. And then I'm going to immediately tell you it's David Onama at minus 180. That's a little bit surprising to me. And I need to just double check what these guys have been up to. All right, so Chikadze has lost 2 of his last 3. Lost his last fight against Arnold Allen, win over Alex Caceres, and then a loss to Calvin Kattar. Onama, on the other hand, has 3 wins in a row, but they're against much lower level competition. Man, I probably would have bet the underdog money on Chikadze here. Yeah, he's got more losses as of late, but he's also been fighting better competition. And, he's strong in the same places that Onama is strong. But Matt the Mechanic going with the favorite, David Onama here. Anthony Smith, in what is supposed to be his swan song here, supposedly his retirement fight, is fighting the Mountain Tiger, Mingyang Zhang, who has not lost a fight since 2019. Goodness. 3-0 in the UFC, if you count his appearance on the road to the UFC, has also finished all of his UFC fights by KO. Shoot. And he's 26 years old, getting in there with Anthony Smith, who is 36 and has had like just around 50 fights, but he's lost 5 of his last 7 fights. Got finished in his last fight against Dominic Reyes, and now he wants to hang it up, but he wants one more. Always reminds me of Gary Busey in Rookie of the Year, one of my favorite movies from my childhood. Gary Busey plays a washed-up pitcher on the Chicago Cubs. He's about to get pulled out of the game, and he says to the coach, "Give me one more." So that's what Anthony Smith is asking for here. However, the odds makers don't like his chances here. Sang Mingyang is one of the biggest favorites on the card at minus 455. Anthony Smith coming in at plus 350. Now, look, Anthony Smith, I truly believe, has the skill to beat any given light heavyweight on any given night, with the exception of probably John Jones, who's not a light heavyweight anymore, so it doesn't matter. I think it's always external factors that affect Anthony Smith, and as long as none of those get in the way, I think he can definitely beat up this young man. So I like the bet Anthony Smith for underdog money, big underdog money, plus 350. So that's that. Let's talk about the main event. Ian Gary coming off his first professional loss at the hands of Shavkat Rakhmonov back in December. And he's looking to bounce back from that. Before that, wins over Michael Venom Page, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, Daniel Rodriguez, Kenan Song. Pretty impressive streak there. Hasn't been able to finish the higher level competition. The fight with Jeff Neal was close. Defeated Neil Magny convincingly. On the other side of it, it's like you couldn't have more contrasting guys. Ian Gary is like super health conscious. He's a vegan for some reason. Whereas Prates is just a madman. He's smoking cigarettes during training and like after his fights and stuff. This guy's just fun. He's coming off of a knockout win over Neil Magny. Also a knockout win over Jingliang Li. Also a knockout win over Chuck Buffalo, who's fighting on this card. A knockout win over Trevin Giles. Knockout win over Mitch Ramirez. Knockout win over Eduardo Ramon. Yeah, this guy has won every fight by knockout for his past 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 fights in a row he's won by knockout. A lot of them in the first round. This guy's a fucking animal, folks. A few submissions under his belt as well. We know the fight nerds are gamers, man. I mean, these guys come to put on a show. And Prates has been no different in his run in the UFC. Does the cigarette smoking concern me in a 5-round fight? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, obviously, his game plan is for it to not go 5 rounds. So there's that. But if he can't get Ian Gary out of there early, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for those cigarette lungs to keep up with the pace that Ian Gary is going to be able to put on for 5 rounds. The odds have Ian Gary at a slight favorite, minus 130, and Prates at plus 110. And I would imagine the line probably looked a lot different earlier in the week, and then a lot of money came in on Prates, because why wouldn't you? If you got Prates at big underdog money, why wouldn't you bet on him, and bet on him by knockout at that? So just to take a look at that, yeah, Prates to win by KO only gets you plus 165, but Prates by submission gets you plus 1800. Those are pretty steep odds for something that is not outside of the realm of possibility. I mean, he does have submissions. I mean, let's say he rocks Ian Gary, and Gary's just not able to, doesn't get knocked out, but not able to defend himself. Prates slaps on a rear naked choke or something. For plus 1800, that's worth exploring. In any case, if you were wondering, Matt the Mechanic has chosen Ian Gary. So he's got Ian Gary, Anthony Smith, David Onama, Michel Pereira, Nicholas Dalby, and then Ikram Al-Skarov. So those are all the bets that Matt the Mechanic's going to be making. He's going to be betting $1 on each of those, and hopefully winning some money. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with Matt's picks? If not, what would you change about him? I'm thinking about betting some money on Prates by submission here, because why not? And then if you do, okay. Even if you bet on this, I'm looking at DraftKings here, by the way. If you bet on Ian Gary to win by submission in round 5, you get plus 4,500. If you bet on Carlos Prates to win by submission in round 5, you get plus 15,000. Plus 15,000. Plus 10,000 to win by submission in round 4. Wow. These odds are something else. The fight is not predicted by odds makers to go the distance. Minus 210. The fight goes the distance. Interesting. This is a fun card. It's a fun card. Matt Schnell and Jimmy Flick. Jimmy Flick retired for a little while and then came back. Matt Schnell, super tough dude. So that's a fun one. Chris Gutierrez, always entertaining, against John Castaneda. I thought there was another fight on here that caught my attention, but there's not. Damon Blackshear and Hailey Alatang. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm probably going to skip the prelims on this one. I'll tune in for the main card. Aliskerov and Muniz mildly interests me, but my interest is really peaked at Randy Brown, Nicholas Dalby. I'll be tuning in from then on for the rest of the night. Okay. Matt the Mechanic jumped on just to tell me that the video looks like shit. All right. So we got some bugs to work out with Restream. Or maybe this is not the platform. Thanks for waiting till the end of the episode to tell me. Let's see. I mean, it's possible he's just watching on his Android phone, and that's the issue. But it's also possible that it's Restream, or maybe there's some kind of setting that I didn't turn on. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and inspect. But luckily, you guys don't tune in to look at me. Tune in to hear the sound of my voice. I know it's soothing. I think I'm gonna call it a wrap here, especially since apparently the video looks like shit. So we'll call it a night, but let me know what you guys think about Matt's picks. What should he have done differently? And I don't know if this outro music is going to play or not, but we'll give it a shot. Until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye. The MMA on the Rocks. Oops. Here we go. Wow. Fuck that.